Introduction of the IABA Child Safeguarding Risk Assessment. In December 2017, the Irish Government introduced the Children's First Act, National Guidance for the Protection and Welfare of Children, and mandatory reporting into law. The Children's First Act makes it a legal requirement for all organisations, such as sports clubs who provide services to children, to undertake a child safeguarding risk assessment. A child safeguarding risk assessment is an exercise where a club examines all aspects of its service from a safeguarding perspective to establish whether there are any practices or features of that service that have any potential to put children at risk. The club's committee members and club child protection officer must meet to review and complete the document. It may be appropriate for clubs to arrange a meeting in order to facilitate the completion of the child safeguarding risk assessment. In this tutorial video, we will guide you through the IABA's Child Safeguarding Risk Assessment template document and the process involved in completing the document. In page 1, clubs will need to enter the club's name in the box titled Club Name. The rest of this page refers to the Children's First Act and the specific sections of the Act which make it a legal requirement for a club to conduct a child safeguarding risk assessment. Page 2 outlines the need for a club's committee and club child protection officer to meet, review and complete the document. In line with best practice procedures, a record of this meeting should be maintained by the club's secretary. The Safeguarding Risk Assessment document has 5 different headings. Heading 1. The potential risk of harm to children. This section has been pre-populated in the template risk assessment with a number of identified potential risks of harm to children. However, should clubs identify further potential safeguarding risks within their own club, these too should be added to the document. Heading 2. Likelihood of harm happening, LMH. Before populating this section of the document, the club's committee will need to review and discuss the various categories of the potential risk of harm to children. Once this has been done, the committee will need to rate the likelihood of harm happening as either L, which refers to a low likelihood, M, which refers to a medium likelihood, or H, which refers to a high likelihood. Heading 3. Required policy, guidance and procedure document. This section has been pre-populated in the template risk assessment with a number of existing IABA policies and guidance documents. However, should clubs have club-specific policies within their own club, these too should be added to the document. Heading 4. Responsibility, Club, Regional, National. This section has been pre-populated in the template risk assessment to name the people responsible for making sure the appropriate safeguards are implemented in areas where a potential risk of harm to children. However, should clubs decide to task these duties to other committee members within their own club, this too should be added to the document. Heading 5. Further action required. This section has been pre-populated in the template risk assessment with a number of suggested further actions. Examples of these include ongoing reviews, immediate action required, refer to policy and take disciplinary action. However, it is important for committees to first rate the likelihood of potential harm to children before deciding on the further action required. The further action required will depend greatly on the likelihood of potential harm occurring. The rest of the Safeguarding Risk Assessment document is divided into several different subsections. Page 2 contains the following subsections: club and coaching practices, and complaints and discipline. The club's committee will need to review these subsections and, where appropriate, populate the 5 different headings: the potential risk of harm to children, likelihood of harm happening, LMH, required policy, guidance and procedure document, responsibility, club, regional, national, and further action required. Page 3 contains the following subsections: reporting procedures and facilities. The club's committee will need to review these subsections and, where appropriate, populate the 5 different headings: the potential risk of harm to children, likelihood of harm happening, LMH, required policy, guidance and procedure document, responsibility, club, regional, national, and further action required. Page 4 contains the following subsections: recruitment, and communications and social media. The clubs committee will need to review these subsections and, where appropriate, populate the 5 different headings. The potential risk of harm to children, likelihood of harm happening, LMH, required policy, guidance and procedure document, responsibility, club, regional, national, and further action required. Page 5 contains the following subsections: communications and social media, and general risk of harm. The clubs committee will need to review these subsections and, where appropriate, populate the 5 different headings. The potential risk of harm to children, likelihood of harm happening, LMH, required policy, guidance and procedure document, responsibility, club, regional, national. Page 6 is the final page of the safeguarding risk assessment. Following completion of the document, the club will need to sign it off. This is done by entering the name of the club, as well as the club's president or chairperson, and the child protection officer's signature and date. Clubs are required to conduct a safeguarding risk assessment at least every 24 months. Once this process has been completed, there is a further legal requirement on clubs who provide services to children to issue a child safeguarding statement. For more information in relation to the IABA Child Safeguarding Statement, please visit the additional tutorial video. It is important to stress that both the Safeguarding Risk Assessment and Safeguarding Safety Statement are legal requirements as outlined by the Children's First legislation. Should you require additional information in relation to the IABA Child Safeguarding Risk Assessment, please contact David at iaba.ie.